It's starting to collapse.
Lord protect us.
Looks like blood. Now we know we're not alone. Sounds like somebody's screaming. Ringing the bell. So crazy. Here we go, Zaddy. Woo! Okay, no. That's police right there. Let's get the fuck out of here.
And we're live.
Again.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the official Condition Orange podcast. I am your host, Chuck. And this is your host,
Oscar.
And we are going to be talking about our newest video, Plaza Tower, today. But first, before we get into it, we wanted to start these podcasts with sort of like a little quick Q&A. We don't have anyone from the community asking us any questions, so we've kind of wrote up our own questions for the meantime. But if you guys have anything you want to ask us, put them in the comments of the video, and we'll see about answering them.
Absolutely.
So with the first one we're going to do for today, it's going to be why we climb without equipment. Because although we have a lot of experience climbing, and through that experience in past jobs and whatnot, I would consider myself, and I know Oscar would consider himself, a professional climber. We know that part of being a professional climber means wearing equipment, but we decide not to wear equipment. And it's mainly, so for me, the reason I don't wear equipment is because it's sort of that rush. It's that adrenaline rush of climbing and knowing that if you make a mistake, that's it. Like, it's over. Which seems kind of stupid. But if you look at it from a different perspective, it can almost be like meditative. Like Alex Honnold, he climbs El Cap, which is El Capitan.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's in Yosemite, if I'm not wrong.
I think so.
And he free climbs the whole thing. So for those of you that don't know, free climbing means climbing without equipment.
Yeah, that's insane.
And that's next level. We're climbing ladders without equipment. He's climbing a mountain without equipment.
Right.
And
We're climbing stuff that's meant to be climbed.
Right.
This dude is just making his own way.
But it's more methodical than most would think. It's not like we just willy-nilly go and, do it. We are, like a lot of times it is the first time we've climbed it, but we're very careful and we know exactly what to look out for. So when we're climbing it, like I check all the bolts, I check all the rungs as we're going up. If anything seems too unsafe, then we just don't keep going.
Right.
And, we've experienced that with...
Smokestacks a lot of the time.
Smokestack, yeah.
Yeah. These old ones, they look like they're, gosh, how old do you think? 50 plus years?
50 plus years.
And these, they don't have actual ladders on the inside. There's no cage. It's just metal rebar bent and secured into these bricks. And over time, these bricks, they get weathered, break down, the elements exposed to them, for all those years, that they actually start to move with the brick. And so a lot of the times, especially, in the South, places like Georgia and Alabama that we've gone to, there's a lot of humidity. So there's tons of storms, tornadoes from all the hurricanes that, hit the Southeast. And so, man, it just becomes, these things become in a state of disrepair. Which, when we're going up, man, if that brick moves, falls, or anything, nope, going down.
Well, and if you've ever noticed, I guess if you're not really, paying attention, you kind of won't notice it. But a lot of the newer smokestacks, over time, they eventually put these metal supports in around the top. And a lot of the brand new ones, they actually, the entire outside of it, so the inside will be brick, but the outside of it ends up being metal. It's just that extra layer of support. But some of the ones that are made in brick, they'll... in order to make sure that, they don't fall and they don't erode and they don't just go to a state of, complete disrepair.
Yeah.
They'll put these metal like circular brackets around the top to make sure they're like, just they hold up better. And we've climbed ones that didn't have that at all. And so when you're doing that, we just got to be like super careful. But so essentially the moral of, sort of why we climb without equipment, it's for the, it's mainly for the experience.
Yeah.
It's just a crazy experience. You got to be super careful, super cautious. You got to be 100% present. You cannot be thinking about anything else. It's almost a sort of meditation.
Right.
Because in meditation, you have to focus on, nothing. So in a way, you're only focusing on one thing.
Yeah.
That's climbing.
The next rung, the next foothold,
Yep.
the next, reach with your hand. And definitely. I think that's a huge aspect of it. Just the taking on, the raw experience. I think that's probably the majority of it. And for me, I feel for myself, it's definitely a lot easier to not have to spend an extra hour hooking up, the harness, hooking up.
Well, it wouldn't take that long, but another issue of climbing with equipment when you're out here is equipment tends to be a lot louder, so you attract more attention, and it takes longer to set up, which means you have more time at getting caught.
Right.
So yes, so that's not our primary reason for not doing it. It just happens to be that if we were to use equipment, it would make it harder for us.
Right.
But that's not why we do it. Another reason is like, I've said it in a previous video, when we climbed Market Street Power Plant, which is a 350-foot power plant in New Orleans that we climbed, which is a lot safer, had a cage. It was super nice.
It was by far the tallest one, but
right.
It was by far the one I felt the most safe doing.
Right. But the reason I love it, and don't get me wrong, like there's people that say, oh, I'm afraid of heights, and then you got people that climb it and they're like, you would assume or you'd imagine that they're not afraid of heights. Well, I don't think that's the case. I think everyone's afraid of it. It's just some people know how to overcome their fears. And so that brings me into sort of another reason why I do it is because I like to have, a sort of control over my emotions. And the best way to have that control is just over time, is you have to practice at it. Otherwise, you're not going to have that control.
Right.
And so as I'm climbing, I'm like, okay, I'm scared. This is like, oh, like I could die, I could all this, whatever. Everything could happen. But if I'm just focused on climbing and
Getting
the
into that
positives
meditative
and
state.
just being super cautious and super safe,
Right.
then I'm going to be fine.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Insert Batman clip here.
Yeah, no, we won't answer that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's the majority of it. I'm a big proponent of get up, get down, get moving, and
Right.
so I feel like, it's not the main focus, but it's nice to be able to cut back on time and have more time to explore versus set up and, deal with all the extra
and then
stuff
like
that
when we
comes
climbed
with
Market Street, like we got up there and you could almost tell, we didn't include all the footage, but we were up there for like maybe 5 minutes and then we came back down.
it. Yeah, it was quick.
Like once we got up there, we were like, all right, we did it. Let's go back down now.
Well, it wasn't the most comfortable position to sit up there. I mean, the wind's going, it's hard to hear each other. And you can't really let your guard down. You're sitting on this very, fine-tooth edge at the top of this 350-foot smokestack. So it's definitely, all right, we did it, fist bump, let's go down and celebrate, right?
Yeah. And then like if you're like leaning back, the thought of leaning back too far, falling in, thought of leaning too far forward, not grabbing onto something, it was just super scary. So
Yeah, that rethinking about it, looking over on the inside down at Market Street, man, that gave me almost a spiritual feeling. It was terrifying. Definitely was.
it's super cool though.
Yeah.
Like, this is a great experience.
Yeah, nothing quite like it.
That's another thing too, is like, now that I'm thinking about it, is you cannot get the views that we get anywhere else in the world. Like the only other way would be, I guess, to go out to like a national park and look over a cliff.
Right.
Well, we're talking about climbing stuff in the middle of the city. The only other time you're going to see something like that is if you're like on top of the skyscraper or you're like flying in a plane.
And even then, it's not raw.
It's not raw.
It's not. You're not there. There's a layer in between you.
It's that layer of security that like just doesn't make it feel real.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how else could you explain that? You know.
No, I think that's.
I mean, the only way I could explain it is, I don't know if I should mention it. I don't know. I'm just feeling real comfortable here, but it's like picking up your dog's shit. You take your dog on a walk. You're like, he just went. I got to pick it up. And you put the bag on your hand and pick it up. I mean, you're literally touching shit, but you're not.
Yeah.
When you're up there, at a penthouse suite on the top of the city, you're there, but you're not.
Yeah, you don't really feel like there's not that, there's that barrier protection. Whereas when we're climbing, that it's gone. And it's like, wow,
Right.
This is just raw, real, like emotion. You feel everything.
Oh, yeah.
See everything. You truly appreciate where you're at when that safety net is taken away.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that brings us perfectly into Plaza Tower, which is the location we're going to be talking about today.
By far.
Because,
What's
it
that?
was specifically ties in because the Market Street power plant was about 350 feet. Definitely scarier than Plaza Tower, only because we were on the outside, we were climbing something, and we were open to the elements the whole time.
Absolutely.
Plaza Tower was way taller, but we were inside. It was still super sketchy because it had that net, which was to catch falling debris, and walls were knocked out.
And when you're up top all the way, you could feel the slight shifting of the tower.
I was getting constant vertigo once we got to the 44th floor, and there was, I think, another 2 floors, and then once you're on the roof, that would be the final 45th floor or whatever
Right.
it was. But yeah, no, climbing up that secondary stairwell once you got to the 44th floor was just terrifying because you're in there and it almost looks slanted. All the bricks at the bottom, you're walking up. Then I got vertigo twice, and I was like, all right.
What's funny is it was hitting me too, but you were just saying it before I said it. Like literally as soon as you said, "Oh, dude, did you feel it?" I was like, "Yep, totally." The building moved.
It was just so scary.
Yeah,
I felt so safe the whole time until we were in there, and I was like, are we going to die? I mean, I knew we weren't, but in my mind, I was like, it could happen.
Right,
It's
right.
Obviously, that's not logical. Logically, it's going to be fine.
That's a perfect comparison, man. That's the tallest thing we've gone up by far, and I wasn't worried at all. Not at all. I mean, The view was amazing, but there was that layer of protection, that barrier against raw reality of between you and you don't have to be in a meditative state, ensuring that your next step is on point, because if it's not, whoop, that's it.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect comparison for sure.
Plaza Tower was one of our most unique so far because abandon and skyscraper generally don't go together, especially in the United States.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. In a country that has so many codes and laws in terms of infrastructure, buildings, public safety, it's very uncommon to have an abandoned skyscraper in the middle of a city's downtown.
Especially in May, there was some falling debris that fell off the skyscraper and hit a pedestrian. Thank God it actually didn't, kill the pedestrian, but it was a cyclist riding by.
Oh, wow.
And so I'd imagine maybe it hit the ground and then bounced and hit him or something. But they had to go to the ER. They had to check up on him. He ended up being okay. Nothing seriously threatening, but that's crazy. I mean, I feel like he got super lucky. If someone gets hit direct with a cinder block falling off,
Yeah.
or potentially a whole floor or wall or
Right.
roof, because we saw an entire roof that had caved in and had taken out half the stairs.
Right. Tons. We're talking about tons of weight in these cinder block concrete slabs just falling from the roof. I hope that guy got paid.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's kind of crazy to think that it's still there. I mean, I think about the process of like if they had to demolish it, we're talking about a 531-foot building in the middle of downtown. To demolish that, that would destroy businesses all over. And I wonder if that's another reason why it hasn't been taken down.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, you'd have to impede the roadways. You'd have to shut down streets. You'd have to take it piece by piece from the top down. You're not blowing it up. You're not knocking it down.
No.
So, I mean, I think repurposing is the best course of action. The issue is the place gets hit by a major hurricane every 6 or 7 years, it seems like. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they put that net up, and then Hurricane Ida came through 4 weeks before we explored it.
Right.
And now the net is trashed. So now they have to do it again.
Right.
But it was just super cool. The only part that, like, I think really sucked about that place was 45 stairs.
Or 45 flights?
45 stairs.
45 stairs.
That's not a lot.
That would have been great. Go 45 stairs and we're at the top, baby. No, definitely. Yeah, no, that was definitely the most challenging part.
I think infill or, getting into the actual building was, I feel like, that's almost the most nerve-wracking part of that entire explore.
Absolutely.
Because we're in the middle of downtown. There's a road, a very active road, right next to a freeway.
Yep. On-ramp, right there.
So, we're driving around. I think we drove around twice. We don't want to drive around too much because we don't want to look too suspicious. And we're just, like, looking for ways in. And, we got lucky. We happened to spot one near the front, which was even scarier because it's the main road.
Yeah. For me, that reminds me, infill, exfill is by far, in my opinion, on the majority of the places we go, is the most nerve-wracking part because you can plan, you can be as cautious as you want to be, but there's an element of luck, of chance, that when you're on your way in, a cop could drive by, somebody could see you and make a call.
I mean, you're right. I think that, like, our luck couldn't have been better. The fact that there was a lock on the door and it just happened to be unlocked was just, like, insane. It was almost like they were, like, inspecting, or like they were checking for someone maybe the day before and they accidentally left it unlocked, because that doesn't happen, Yeah. So
definitely perfect circumstance.
Especially because, and we talked about in the video, Oscar talked about in the video, there was an alleged murder. And I Googled everywhere and I couldn't find anything about it. But then I realized, the source of information where we got it from was from the homeless community at the other locations we were at. And they were saying, be careful when you go there because there was a recent murder that happened there. And so that, that spooked us out.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find anything on it.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me that they would suppress it. I mean, a lot of these, when they want to go to repurpose something like these, they need funding. And, it really, I think it would turn investors off and would turn potential. Yeah, I mean, people who are speculating on different properties, if there's active criminal activity
because someone owns the building. I don't know exactly who it is, but someone owns it.
Right.
So someone, of course, wouldn't want that story to get out.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, because then you have the city cracking down on you. Hey, figure it out or get rid of it. And so that wouldn't surprise me if it got covered up or swept under the rug. I mean, especially if it was a homeless person who was a victim. I mean, a lot of these people, Hurricane Katrina came through. They don't even know the real numbers to this day. And a large part of that is because these massive homeless communities, there's no way to track these people. Most of them are unidentified, sort of out off the grid, so to speak. So, yeah, no, that definitely wouldn't surprise me at all.
I mean, how do you know 100%? Like, how can you, like, conclusively tell if, I guess you could do, like, an autopsy, and they could, like, examine the body. But, like, what if the person happened to die from the hurricane? I doubt it because I don't think it was that bad enough.
No, but, I mean, we were there with enough gap in between time. That was definitely, something happened. I mean,
we saw blood going up the stairs.
Yeah, there was
I didn't
blood
even
trail.
realize it was blood until I was watching the footage back, and I was like, wow, okay, that actually was blood.
Yeah, that surprised me. I guess, I don't know. A lot of these places are very nerve-wracking in terms of like, especially in New Orleans, the homeless communities, because it's almost anything goes. I mean, not many people bat an eye. Most people want these homeless people, as they perceive as problems, to just disappear. And so, I definitely think that's an aspect to consider when you're going into certain places, especially in a big city like this.
Yeah. I mean,
because that was unique. Think about it. How many other homeless communities or individuals have we run into up to that point?
no, we haven't. I mean, went on my 10-day trip up the Midwest. I didn't see any homeless people. And so it's like, it was just kind of weird. It was cool. I liked it because it was a whole aspect of exploring that we don't normally get to see.
Right. We don't consider it a lot of the time.
But especially in New Orleans, not seeing homeless people at Plaza Tower was sort of like a red flag for us because it was like, there's homeless people at every abandoned building. Why is there not some here?
It lets you know that something happened. Something happened at that tower previous to us, going in there, for sure. For sure. You could tell. There was beds in certain places where people had just looked like they disappeared overnight. Right. There was floors with different, the lights going up the stairs. But somebody had these people, they're very smart and very inventive in the ways that they adapt to life without a permanent home, is what I'm trying to say, Either way, these people make it work. It is super impressive to see some of these things that are rigged up, off the grid washer and dryer, showers. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Right.
Just like
so the lights wouldn't seem like we thought it was worker lights, but it absolutely could have been the homeless when they were scrapping. But wait, I didn't see a whole lot of signs of scrapping, so it actually could have been the worker lights left behind.
After we were doing more reading on the history of the tower itself, what it seems to me is the worker lights were most likely worker lights. I had read that they had done some removing of asbestos in the walls and in the floors, and that's why the whole place was stripped out when we made it through it.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing they did an abatement process before we went in, but they didn't get all of it. And
no.
But at least made us feel like definitely a lot safer not seeing all the crazy walls and mold, asbestos. All right, so this actually leads me to, what was your favorite part of Plaza Tower?
That's a good question.
All right, not including the roof, because obviously, getting up there is going to be number one. So
right.
What was your favorite, not including the roof?
As crazy as it sounds, and as much as it was a pain to do, probably infiltration.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, you remember how it was. We were looking. I was out in the open, checking out different slits in the fence, seeing if there was any not patched up. People, I'm looking over my shoulder, seeing if people are coming. And at the time, I hate it. My anxiety is through the roof. I'm like dreading the experience. But as soon as we, green check mark, we're in, we're out, we made it without, anything crazy going on. I'm like, yeah, I freaking did that. Maybe it's the the daredevil adrenaline rush, that makes it. But definitely infill and exfil, because I guess there's an element of like it's out of your hands, and you just got to do the best you can do and just hope that the rest comes together.
Right. I agree with you. I guess the reason why I don't think it's the best is because I was the most scared during that part. I mean, I was like shitting bricks the whole time. I was like, oh, this is just like Presidential Hotel.
You were having flashbacks, man.
Yeah. I was having like freaking like low-key like PTSD from, I mean, I won't call it that, but like it was making me anxious and paranoid because of what has happened before and because it was a similar building,
You want to know how I knew you were on edge? Is because, one, we've been doing stuff together for so long, we know how each other are, and you're really good at masking, what you're thinking or showing.
Right.
But when we were, I don't know, a quarter of the way up in that Amtrak bus station or train station, you heard the loudspeaker, I could tell you were like, whoa, what is that?
I know I sat
Are
on
the
it
cops
multiple
telling
times.
us to come out of the building? I something along those
That's what I
lines I
thought.
know was probably going on in your head,
That's what I thought. Yep.
which is
Scary
hilarious
shit.
to me. It's because it's just such a more massive scale, Plaza Tower compared to Presidential Hotel. So I don't know. Maybe I had this false sense of security, that we're in the middle of downtown,
Yeah.
and that how would they single in only on us? We saw people circling the blocks as we were looking for a way in, homeless individuals. So I don't know. I don't know if it was a false sense of security or it was the last day, the last sight. So I was just kind of like, hey, we got to get it done.
For me, it was just such high vis. If someone saw us go in, that was what scared me. I'm like, if someone watched us go into the building, then, and called the cops would probably roll around, casually, and then wait for us to come out.
One way in, one way out.
Right. And they knew. I guarantee they knew.
Yeah.
And so, well, I guess that leads me to my favorite part, which was, it was kind of tough. It's kind of tough to say because I really liked, at the worker section, looking out at the loads, the load equipment they would have used to pull up the net. The net itself, like looking out over the edge, that was really cool.
Yeah, it was a weird
feel. My favorite part was the pool. And I think it's more of like just like a basic, just like a nostalgic feel for me, was because I grew up skateboarding. And you made that joke, but it really made me start thinking about it. I was like, man, I haven't skated in forever. This is awesome. Like an old pool at a hotel, it's graffiti, and then you look up and it's bam, just this massive building, like this massive old office, hotel, residential space. It was like just so cool.
Yeah, I think what's definitely cool about the pool is when we go to these places that people had lived at and had some of their life experiences. Maybe it's somebody who's an adult now that lived there as a kid and went swimming with their parents there, etc. For me, that drives a lot of these places we go to is imagining what it may have looked like at the time that it was in use. I just imagine people sitting by the pool, kids playing.
I know this sounds weird, and a lot of people like they go to abandoned stuff and they're like, oh, like it would have looked so cool back when it was up and running. But I love, urban exploration because it looks so much cooler now. It does.
It does.
I mean, as much as I don't like people graffitiing and destroying stuff, it gives it this super cool, eerie, apocalyptic vibe. Maybe it's like my fascination with The Walking Dead and like The Last of Us and, the Book of Eli and my favorite fiction book by Cormac McCarthy, The Road, which I read in high school. It's all this apocalyptic vibes and it's all this visualization of like, there's something beautiful about like stuff being like not completely destroyed, but enough to like make it just eerie and dark. And I really like that. It's like, it's got this weird mood to it and it's not super lively, but it just looks so cool. Like it's just fucking badass. And I love the way it looks.
Yeah, that's interesting to me because I definitely get that sentiment. Like it's cool. There's just something unique about it. But I think just for myself, I think about the history, like the experience, the human experience of that. And I don't know, it all ties into this very interesting, complex dynamic of perception on it. So,
I still think about the history behind it, absolutely. But when I'm walking through it, I'm not like necessarily picturing myself walking through it when it's active. I'm
right.
like walking through it as it is. And if I like sit back and look at something, I'm like, oh, I wonder what that would have looked like when it was up and running.
Right.
But I don't know. I just love I think it's just when I was a kid, I fascinated about, which obviously like I know now that was just an immature thought, of like, how cool would it be if it was like the end of the world? Obviously that would suck. But like as a kid, you just see all this like super cool stuff happening and you're like, oh, that'd be so cool if I could like shoot a gun and like kill zombies and that would be awesome. But it's like,
Definitely.
realistically it would suck ass. But
Oh
like
yeah.
some of the places they see are so cool, and maybe that's when my fascination with urban exploration started. Was like seeing all those places. Like, oh, I want to go there so bad. That'd be so cool to see all those places.
I definitely think that could be a component of it. I think I think a huge aspect of it comes back to I think I've talked about this with you before. It's human nature. What's over that hill? Where's the next experience? What's the next new thing? And I think that urban exploration plays on that natural human.
We're all curious. We're all super curious
Yeah.
creatures.
Yeah, I mean, how else does a species or however conquer, for lack of a better word, the entire Earth? We inhabit some of the most remote places that are livable, and it's because of that natural drive. Like, oh, that looks cool. Let's go check it out. Let's climb it. Let's go experience
I think it's
it.
even like more cool is because I feel like, at least myself, I feel like in normal society, I've almost like forgot that like sort of natural feeling that I feel like, a lot of people get as just human beings, is like that curious nature to get out and see
Man.
something new.
Man, modern society is unnatural. Definitely. I mean, this is never happened before in the history of humanity, and I think it does people a real disservice. This go to work, this come home, this pursuit of money and luxurious things for just having, right? There's a whole aspect that I think in urban culture gets lost. When's the last time? We both have a bunch of people from the cities, and when was the last time they went on a hike to get to a lake, up
Out in
a
the middle of
mountain to go
nowhere.
fly fishing? Yeah. And I think, like I said, I think it really is, duping people and selling them short of a quality life existence, a human experience.
And it's something, you absolutely, you really have to experience it to realize how important it is. And so when we first, we went on our first Explorer, like seeing your face when we were going there, and you're like, dude, this is so cool. Like, this is fucking awesome, dude. Like, we got to the top of that water tower, and you're just like, dude, this is insane. And then that's like where it all started. And then every place we go to, it's like, it's just amazing. You walk into a room and you just see all this crazy history and this like these insane views, and you're in just places you never thought you would be in. Maybe you had dreamt it as a kid when you were watching TV shows or movies or whatever, and here we are as adults exploring these places that like a very, very, very small percentage of human beings get to explore.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I was listening to the Chasing Bandos podcast. So Greg was, I think he was talking about it. Yeah, he was talking about Greg Abandon on Instagram. But no, he was talking about how if we as explorers hung on to everything we thought before a bando that we hit or an abandoned place that we hit, we would never go. At some point, you're going to think yourself out of doing it. There is a risk that you have to take. There's always going to be a risk. And sometimes you just have to do it. And I think that is, it's nice to have that sort of experience and practice in life, because sometimes like it's almost like a confidence exercise. You have to be confident in yourself and your ability to know that you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And if you're doing all your research properly and you're doing everything else the way that it should be done, and you're trying to minimize risk and everything like that, then you can be almost certain that everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain places that we've gone that we had this really bad gut feeling, something's wrong, and we chose to do it anyway. And there is a line, and we've crossed that line before.
Absolutely.
And we've almost gotten caught. But there's those other places where it's like, we're going to be fine. And we were.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that like you said, if you do the proper due diligence and preparation, and I think that's a good segue into the next thing about preparation and how we pick out some of these sites like Plaza Tower and like these mills. And so I think that'd be a good transition to how do we go about finding these places and what's the legwork to get there.
Yeah, so in the beginning it was, well, and it still is. Google Maps is great, you know. It's fantastic.
Freaking Google, man.
But, you know, a lot of people, you know, because we'll post pictures on our Instagram and you know, from time to time we'll get questions like, what's this spot, whatever. And I don't answer that. And when I do, I don't give out information. And, you know, people don't like that because people don't want to do the dirty work and find it for themselves. But that, it's sort of like this, it's not even an unspoken rule. It is an urbex rule. Don't give out locations.
Right.
Because when you give out locations to the masses, that's when places get destroyed, the security starts coming in, or vandalism just goes through the roof. And then places, you know, that some people that aren't going to destroy it would go in and enjoy it. They can't anymore because it's been ruined. And so the way that I've been finding them, and I prefer not to share locations. I have shared locations with people that I trust and people that I've explored with, and I know that they're not going to divulge my locations to other people. We have this, like, you know, friendship, trust, where I'm good. I don't give them out to people that I don't know and people that I haven't explored with. You know, and I don't ask for locations.
Right.
I don't. The main way I find them is on Google Maps, and there are definitely some techniques which I'm not going to hide from people. I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm not going to not tell you how to find them. But you generally want to look near railroad tracks. That's big ones. If you follow railroad tracks and you look within about a half mile to a mile radius of any railroad track, you're going to find the majority of your spots. Or water. Water's another one.
Right.
And then you're just looking for that orange, rusty look on top. But the main thing about Google Maps is you don't know 100%. And sometimes you won't even find a location if you Google that address. And so sometimes you just have to go there. You know, I've heard other explorers and on this podcast as well, the Chasing Manos podcast, and they've traveled all the way around the world in another country to go to this main spot. They get there, and it ends up being demolished. So sometimes you don't know, and you just have to go there and find out for yourself.
Yeah.
That's why that leads perfectly into have a backup plan. Have more than one location. Sometimes it's going to be out in the middle of nowhere, and it's going to be the only location. Have a backup plan. Have another place on the way there.
Right.
Or maybe sort of close by. It's just always good to have a separate location. But, you know, at the end of the day, sometimes, it may be rare, it's not going to work out. And you have to be okay with that. Because what if, let's say it wasn't demolished. You know, let's say we went to Plaza Tower. We were expecting it to be good and we're going to be able to get up it. We get there and there's one security car on each side of the building.
Right.
And maybe there's a possible way in. Maybe we wait till they go on lunch and then we go in. But there's cameras and it's just like, is it worth it?
Right. And you know, we've run into both of those situations where we've gone to a bunch of locations in southern Tennessee, and we were there primarily for this big, huge building that you were supposed to be able to get on top of. You're supposed to be able to see for miles, and we get there, and it's a freaking construction site, and it's completely gone. But hey, no need to fear. We've got X, Y, and Z, you know, as a plan B. But like you said, sometimes you do get stuffed. I remember we had another trip. We were going way far east in Tennessee, and we were looking for this huge railroad crossing. We get there, we get set up, and we're standing there outside of it, and a security truck is driving along the tracks, almost as if they were right there for us. And this was a hefty drive.
Yeah, I mean, you remember
there was no backup.
That was another thing. But also, we decided to say, you know, fuck it, you know, we're gonna try anyway. We went up that road, and we saw no trespassing with the gate that was open. And, you know, we were like, okay, that's fine. We'll go. No one's probably been up here forever. And then we drive maybe a couple hundred more feet around this corner. And on this freaking tree, there was another sign that says, hey, hey, asshole, if you didn't see the first sign, just know that, what was it? It's like, just know that I have a gun and, I'm not afraid to shoot you.
Yeah. It was one of those classic, like, trespassers will be shot.
Survivors will be shot again.
Yeah, one of those types of deals.
And it was like, okay, this guy's obviously... And on the maps, we did see a house there. So that was another reason. It was like, okay, it sucked. It was a 2.5 hour drive out in the middle of nowhere to this spot. There was nothing nearby. We had no other options. And our whole day was wasted.
Yep.
But, like, sometimes that happens.
Yep.
You just got to be okay with that.
Yeah, because imagine if it did work out. That would have been amazing.
It would have been crazy.
Yeah.
It would have been scary.
Very scary.
It reminded me of the Stand By Me movie.
I still haven't watched it yet. I've seen the trailer and everything.
Anyone who hasn't watched Stand By Me, you got to watch it. Great movie. There's a scene where they cross this railroad tracks in, I think, Colorado or California.
It looks like Colorado, but they shot it in Cali.
Yeah, but they ended up shooting in California, and it was this train. There were 3 kids. They were going on this like little hiking backup trip to find this dead body out in the middle of the forest. But anyway, they get to this point where they cross this river, and it's this massive bridge that goes like right over the river, and it's this one train. And essentially, if you start going and the train comes, you have to outrun the train. Otherwise, you're gonna have to jump in the water or get hit by the train. And so they start going, and of course the train comes, and they're running. And there's no platform. It's like these planks, and in between the planks is nothing, so you can trip easy. And it just reminded me of that. It would have been super cool.
Yeah.
Of course, we would have made sure we were safe before we started, but it would have just been really, really cool. And it was 3 times the height. It was it was like 400 feet. Massive.
Yeah, and we didn't even get to see like the point where it was the maximum height, which I think was over the river, which would have been even more terrifying. You know, imagine falling into that. You hit that.
I mean, I was so nervous. We're always super nervous. Like, I think, like, I tell a lot of my friends and family that I'm doing this stuff, and they're like, you guys are crazy. How do you do that? Or they're like, oh, I get, like, super nervous watching it. I'm like, yeah, how do you think I feel when I'm doing it? Like, I'm freaking out too.
Right.
Like, that doesn't not happen just because I decide to do it. Like, no, I'm still freaking out.
Yeah.
But we make it happen.
Yeah, we do. I mean, it's just an aspect of it. I think that also plays into why we do it, you know? It's just that feeling of being alive. I mean, anxiety and all the suspense that's all very real human emotion that I think that a lot of people working the normal life don't get to experience, you know, besides the messed up anxiety from work and family life and modern social culture. But the traditional like stress and anxiety of, hey, we're hungry. Winter's about to be here. We're going on a freaking grizzly bear hunt.
Yeah.
You know, like we could be in danger. We could get hurt, seriously hurt or killed. And I think that it plays into that natural human experience that I was talking about earlier.
I completely agree. And I'm just like, I've never felt more passionate about anything in my life. It's just amazing. Like these awe-inspiring views, these crazy experiences, the memories that we're going to have. We're going to be able to tell our kids one day, look at this. You know, we got these videos out there. We're going to be able to like, it's just like, sometimes I think what's more important, the experience or the memory? They're both like,
man, I think it's 50-50. I think it's like a coin. You can't have one side without the other. I mean, what good is the experience if you don't have the memories? I mean,
right.
And I think
it's just amazing. And that's why I love doing this, because the experience is amazing and the memory is amazing. Everything about it is perfect. Like,
and that's definitely a huge reason why I'm happy that we do this. We record it and upload it for other people because, you know, we experience it once, but it's cool because in a way, you know, on the Walking Dead, you know, video, 1,700 other people have experienced that same trip.
Right.
And
That's
those
another
similar
thing,
emotions.
is like,
It's an amazing thing to really
the
think about.
reason we like to do that first person is because we want to make everyone that watches it feel as close to how we felt when we were there.
Right.
Which is why we put in the suspense music, because we're freaking out. And that suspense is supposed to draw that emotion out of you because that's how we felt.
Right.
And a lot of times it's, you know, it's fitting because a lot of the stuff we do is scary and sketchy. And so it's like...
Man. And your ability to portray that with your editing has been...
Oh, stop.
But, yeah.
All right. I think that about wraps it up for Plaza Tower. So, hope you enjoyed the next one. The next podcast we're going to do. Well, actually, the next video and then the podcast after that's going to be the Navy base, which is going to be a two-parter. I'm super excited for that. I know Oscar's excited. So much cool shit happened.
Man, that was... Welcome to New Orleans. That was our first day there, first experience there. One of the first types of experiences with the homeless communities while we're urban exploring. I mean, geez, welcome to New Orleans.
I never thought I would explore a U.S. Navy base so close to water, so close to a major city.
With 2 active ships there.
Yeah, that's another thing. 2 active ships. I actually Googled the ship names. And
oh, did you?
They're active still.
What's the names? You didn't tell me this.
Cape Knox and something Kennedy.
Huh. What do you know? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Super cool. But I think they're vehicle vehicle cargo vessels.
That makes sense. Yeah. So that's our next video. And what's after that? What do we got? The podcast after that?
What is after? So that?
Or bloopers?
Well, bloopers and then podcast. And then after that is going to start cutting to the Midwest trip I made. Right.
That I wasn't able to go along with because we can't do this full time yet. As much as we wish we could. We work normal jobs, full time. And we try to do all this awesome stuff and bring you guys all this content while making a full-time living at the same time.
I'm putting 40 hours a week into my job that actually pays the bills, and then I'm putting 60 to 80 in the YouTube thing. So it just
so you guys
it's a benefit that I love doing it, because if not, this will suck.
Oh yeah. So you guys will miss out on my beautifully masked face, the way it should be. Gotta save everyone's eyes.
One day we will be revealing our faces, so just know that.
But you guys gotta help us get there. We need your support.
We need your help.
If you like the videos, like them. If you love them, subscribe.
Absolutely.
And if you think they're worthy of being watched, share them. We need that. We want that. We want to do this full time and bring you guys even more content of even more crazy places. And we'll talk about that in another podcast. Potential places that we want to go to next. Future goals, long-term goals, mid-term, short-term. So definitely got a lot more stuff ready for you guys, but we need your help.
Absolutely. All right. Well, hope you enjoyed the podcast. We will see you next week with the new video, and have a good night, have a good morning, and a good afternoon. This has been Chuck and
Oscar. See you in the next one.
It's starting to collapse.
Lord protect us.
Looks like blood. Now we know we're not alone. Sounds like somebody screaming. Ringing the bell. Some crazy. Here we go, Zaddy. Woo! Okay, no. That's police right there. Let's get the fuck out of here.